2022 Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Roundtable series. And I'm Denise Cooper, your facilitator and leader for the Roundtable today. And for me, I've been a business owner for, I hate to say it, 12, 13 years now. And my focus has been in this area of how do we identify and attract and actually start dismantling some of the systemic issues that continue to plague us when we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you want to learn more about the supportive, trusting community of Leadership Global, designed to help executives just like you scale their business, just reach out. Linda is a magnificent networker and leader, and she will drop everything to help you succeed in your business. But I want to tell you a little bit about Leadership Global. You'll receive support from influential and highly connected business leaders that can help you develop the strategies to pursue your purpose and dramatically increase your success. This roundtable, in particular, is a forum, a safe place to learn and practice and master many different aspects of diversity, equity, and inclusion. In this monthly series, we meet every third Thursday of the month, same time, same place. In this monthly series, we'll explore how you can positively impact inclusion, belonging, and collaboration. Your ability to identify and navigate diversity, equity, and inclusion allows for innovation, problem solving, and collaboration. And our differences can become a source of power, purpose, and profitability. When we feel included, we feel heard, seen, and open to exploring and creating connections that lead to better results. It is through understanding and dialogue that great things happen. So we're really, really, really glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk with, as Linda introduced, Jada Grande-Moore, who is with Fifth Third, and I'll introduce her in just a few minutes. But the topic is really around, we talk about diversity and inclusion as one-to-one, but it's time to turn our attention to economic diversity and how can we increase social mobility. I also want to take a moment so that those of you who are new understand the Leadership Global Credo. During every discussion, we like to consider the positive things that impact our lives and accelerate our success and create a safe space for dialogue and collaboration by reminding ourselves of our guiding principle, the Leadership Credo. We encourage you to cultivate authentic relationships with women around you so together we rise. Act with courage to pursue your purpose. Dedicate yourself fully to the path you choose and the outcomes you desire. Be curious and open-minded to be a lifelong learner, and celebrate each other to build meaningful memories and share the love. So now, before we jump into today's exciting discussion, let me introduce you to today's speaker. I could say a whole lot about Jada. We have known each other for a very long time, and I like to think of her as one of my key thought leaders and partners in crime in the Charlotte area. Currently, she is the Senior Vice President, Chief Corporate Community Impact Banking Officer for Fifth Third Bank. Jada, who has an MBA, serves as the Chief Corporate Community Impact Banking Officer, and she's going to tell us what that means. She is responsible for leading the bank's community economic development programs, community engagement, and Community Reinvestment Act compliance and lending and investment strategies. She has been instrumental in the bank's effort to improve its Community Reinvestment Act performance levels to outstanding and strengthen communities by implementing innovative, comprehensive community development strategies and partnerships. She was also instrumental in establishing and executing the bank's $32 billion 5-year community commitment. Jada serves on a number of boards, from the National Association of Affordable Housing Lenders, Carolina Small Business Development, and the Foundation of the Carolinas and LISC Charlotte. She has been recognized numerous times for her professional and civic contributions and thought leadership throughout her career. Recently, she was named 2022 Charlotte Athena Award honoree, 2019 Charlotte Business Journal 25 Women in Business awardee, and one of Mecklenburg Times, which is our county, Mecklenburg County, 50 most influential women. She's got a whole list of stuff, but I have to tell you, I just know her as Jada and the lady on the Peloton every morning. I asked her to join us today primarily because she has led probably one of the most innovative investment strategies to provide comprehensive support to 9 community organizations in neighborhoods across Fifth Third Bank's footprint. That initiative alone is $180 million, folks. This is almost, I mean, it's unheard. Yes, we know about Wells Fargo and all the others, which I won't name because she'll get pissed at me. But imagine if we could really start changing and dismantling the old ways that we've been thinking about in terms of economic development and social mobility, to begin to actually take the millions and millions of dollars and do something that is measurable and impactful in the communities in which we live and serve. That is Jada's mission. She doesn't like to say it, but her personal credo is impacting 1 million lives. I am so happy, so proud and privileged to know her and to introduce her to the Leadership Global family. Jada, what's going on?
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so much, Denise. And it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. And thank you, Denise, for sharing the interesting facts about our neighborhood investment program, which is also part of our Empowering Black Futures initiatives to create more economic mobility in a majority Black neighborhoods throughout our country. Really excited to be here with all of you today, and excited to share some of my thoughts with you regarding economic opportunity and economic equity. So Denise, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I would love to get ready and get started in this discussion.
Just so that everybody has a flavor for what we're going to do here today. I'm known for my conversational style of interviewing people and making them feel comfortable to share their secrets with us. In the chat, if you have a question, would you please put that in there? And for those of you who are new, please remember to put your name, contact information, and how we can get in touch with you after this meeting. And so Jada and I are just going to have one of those girl chats, woman chats, and we're going to talk about economic equity. So if you have questions, put them in there. And also remember that probably at the half hour, 40-minute mark, we're going to ask you to break into small groups and talk about what you've heard, and then come back out and share that with us. But to start, Jada, I know I gave you the flowering and, you know, all the things I'm most proud of you about. But particularly talk about your journey, because there's not a lot of Black women in particular, but certainly women who are pushing the envelope in banking around this idea of economic equity. What was your journey, and define in your words what economic equity is?
You know, I'm so glad that you asked the question. So I grew up, I'm a native Pittsburgher. Want a fun fact about me, I am also an avid Steeler fan. How could you possibly grow up in Pittsburgh and not be a Steeler fan? But I grew up in Pittsburgh in a community where every single economic challenge that you could think of existed. So I want you to start to think about the various economic challenges that you're aware of that you can think of. Whatever comes to your mind, it existed in my neighborhood. And at the root of many of those economic challenges, it was a lack of investment. It was a lack of capital investment in people, lack of investment in employment opportunities, education, and access to affordable loans and capital investments that could be used to be able to create wealth building opportunities such as home ownership, opportunities to build wealth and provide access to financial resources to help meet their needs, as well as have a vibrant entrepreneurship and Main Street business district. So let's think about that. What would our communities be if we didn't have strong entrepreneurs, if we didn't have families who have access to financial services, if they didn't have a Main Street business district where they can get access to their basic needs, like food, like the local pharmacy, like be able to go to a local restaurant. All of those things were dreams of people that lived in my neighborhood, including me. I also witnessed firsthand many of the struggles that my own family had with trying to make ends meet. And so given my experience, I said, you know what, I can do something about this. The world is my oyster. And I made a conscious decision to change some of the outcomes that I saw every single day. So I decided to pursue a career in banking. I believe that financial services providers play a very, very important role in building strong families and communities. And having held many roles over my 20-year plus career, I will tell you that the role that I have today has been by far the most rewarding. It allows me to combine my passion, my lived experience, yes, my lived experience, in education to make a positive difference in the lives of others. That is why economic opportunity and equality is so important to me. Everyone has dreams of having a safe environment for their families to live in. Everyone has dreams to be able to have access to a great education. Everyone has dreams to be able to have access to the tools necessary to create wealth and opportunities for generations to come. And I believe that regardless of your income, it should not be able to affect your ultimate outcome. And so that is why I've committed my life in this work to achieving economic opportunity for others.
Wow, thank you. Isn't it interesting how many of us on this, and we've had these discussions before, we had an itch, something that came from our childhood, something that came from our background that has actually motivated us to start our own businesses. And so the beauty of what you talked about, Jada, is that, you know, you chose to be in corporate America where you could make that impact. But all of the things that you talked about are the same things that each and every person on this call and probably in the world. I can't imagine someone who feels differently than what you said. Now, just taking and peeling this back just a little bit, when I know what I think when we say economic equity and what that looks like, and I know people have seen that chart where, you know, there's equality and then there's equity and there's somebody standing on a tall box and someone on a shorter box and all of those things like that. But that's often talked about, and the majority of what we talk about really is around people and engagement and just showing up, et cetera. What does economic equity actually mean?
So first, I just want to start off with something that's very, very important. As an executive at Fifth Third Bank, I always say this in every single session that I present in, and that is the views that are expressed here today are that of my own and do not necessarily reflect those of my employer. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's talk more about what economic opportunity and economic equity means to me. So I shared a little bit about my background, and one of my life's missions is to be that bridge, to create the economic opportunity for others and inspire them to do the same. In other words, when we build bridges for people, we help them create economic opportunities for themselves. And then the goal is that when they create economic opportunities for themselves, just like many of you do as business owners, you then equip others to become bridges for more people to create economic opportunity. And then there will be a rippling effect. Ripples create waves, waves create lasting change. I envision a world where people's income levels early in life would not determine their outcome later in life. For me, being a bridge builder to creating economic opportunity can show up in a lot of ways. It can show up in companies by creating initiatives like the Empowering Black Futures Neighborhood Investment Program, where we are intentionally investing in non-majority Black communities that have experienced disinvestment over the years. This initiative allows us to focus on and hear directly from the people that are impacted the most. How many times have we seen initiatives where there's a lot of investment that goes into a city or into a community, but we never get the opportunity to hear from the voices of those who live there and those who are impacted the most? So this is really a community-centric approach to economic mobility, where we will be combining philanthropy and capital investments because it takes both. We will also be combining our own social capital. It is so important when we have the equity conversation of the importance of leveraging social capital. A lot of things get done because of people that know people who have access. And so it's important for us to understand the importance of social capital in the equation when it comes to creating economic equity. This allows us to hear directly from them, to be a facilitator of dreams and the goals that they have for their families, their businesses, and their communities. You know how else it can show up? It can show up as a corporate leader, where we can provide unique and diverse perspectives to policies, particularly in financial services, and the solutions that can actually move the needle and create economic opportunity for individuals, families, and businesses. How else can this show up? It can show up in your role as a community leader. It shows up in my role as a community leader. I lend my voice and perspective to policies and issues that I believe impact someone's ability to create economic opportunity. As a nonprofit board member, I'm always looking for ways that mission-driven organizations can serve people and contribute to creating more economic equity in families and the ways that we can serve people who want to build wealth through entrepreneurship. And you know what? It all starts at home. It even shows up in my family, where I use my experience and my professional knowledge to educate all on the principles of personal financial wellness, good personal financial decision-making, with the hopes that they will pass the knowledge and the actions on to others. It shows up in my personal philanthropy to support higher education. I am a strong believer that education was my gateway out of poverty. And I owe it to those who have come before me, to whom much is given, much is required. I have been very fortunate and blessed. And so I owe it to those who have paved the way, who have served as a bridge for me to serve as a bridge for others. And I say all that to say, when Denise asked the question, what does economic equity and economic opportunity mean to me? And how does it show up? It shows up everywhere. And I know that we all have missions that we are committed to where we show up. And so I encourage all of you who are listening today in the spaces and places that you occupy to leverage your voice, whether you're a mom, whether you're a sister, whether you're a business leader, whether you're a friend, whether you're a dad, a community leader. Everybody can play a role in moving the needle and creating a more diverse and equitable economic economy, or economic outcomes, that we know that we all want to see in this world.
You know, it's interesting when I hear you talk about it, and you're always so powerful. Talk a little bit. I think there's a couple questions in the chat room about, can you give us some of the things that are happening, like in Charlotte, and what are the 10 cities? Because I believe it's 10 cities that were chosen. What's happening?
It is 10 cities, and I'm so glad you asked the question. So our cities are Louisville, Kentucky. We're in the Russell neighborhood. We're in Detroit, Michigan, in the G7 community. We are in here, Charlotte, North Carolina, in the historic West End. We are in Tampa, Florida. Yes, you can clap. We are in Tampa, Florida, in the East Tampa community. We are in Chicago, Illinois, in the South Chicago community. And we are also, I have named, how many did I name, Denise?
I think it was
I
7.
get so passionate about this. Sometimes
Cleveland,
yes, we are in Cleveland. Yes, we are in the Buckeye community. So shout out to all of you who are in Northeast Ohio. And I can't forget the mothership of Cincinnati, Ohio. We are in the Avondale community, making a difference every day.
Yeah. So what are some of the projects that have come forward? Because this is a relatively new initiative, right? Middle
is.
2020 timeframe, 2021. What have you seen as success?
So far, we have already identified opportunities to make significant investments to support anti-displacement efforts of our senior neighbors. Many of our seniors are experiencing challenges with rising tax levels within many of their communities, because many of these communities are going through transformation. So we are able to provide opportunities for those seniors to be able to age in place. We are also seeing opportunities where new developments are coming into these communities that have not come in over 30 years, where investors are now seeing many of these neighborhoods of places of hope and opportunity versus ones that they want to stay away from. So those opportunities are going to be able to create jobs. We are also starting entrepreneurship programs and apprenticeship programs for individuals who want to be involved in technology. We are leveraging the bank's resources and the skills that we have with our employees to actually provide training opportunities in IT for a lot of people that live in these communities, that will allow them to be able to increase their wages and their earning power and their knowledge base. We are also in conversations with grocers and opportunities to be able to bring healthy food into many of these communities. And so we are really excited to see what is already transpiring, and just to see the glimpse of hope on so many faces brings me great joy. And the transformation that is to come, I just can't wait to see it. And I'm so excited to be on the journey.
Yeah, and so some people who are not intimately involved in this might hear this and say, what's the difference between this and like gentrification? Because gentrification is kind of the negative side of what we see in communities. What's different about this initiative from our conversations and what we're seeing from the quote unquote gentrification of a community?
Well, I'm so glad that you asked, because a lot of the gentrification that's happening in the neighborhoods is also in some cases, pushing people out, but also people don't get the opportunity to really take advantage of the wealth creation that happens in the process. This is different. This is actually going to support and allow individuals to take advantage of the economic prosperity that is going to result from the transformation that they've been a part of in their particular neighborhood. So when we think about changes in generational wealth and generational outcomes, this is one of the ways that we're able to do that, to prevent the displacement of the individuals who have worked so hard to build their communities throughout the years, that they should not only be a part of the transformation, they should also be a part of the benefit.
What have you seen as some of the, this idea of including the community folks and I guess maybe even putting up a shift in terms of how we think about bringing in new people to the community, et cetera. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing? And talk a little bit about, because everybody on the call, or on this webinar, we're all business owners.
Mhm.
And many of us would call ourselves entrepreneurs out of this. So what are some of the challenges in doing this? I mean, you make it sound like, you just kind of go into the bank and convince them that they need to
Oh,
rethink
no.
their community reinvestment stuff. And this pops up. I mean, come on. I know what it took, but you're too
Oh, no.
eloquent in this, okay?
I wish it was that easy, but I am going to be very honest. There is a real trust gap. There is an opportunity for a trust gap to be filled between many of the BIPOC communities, including Black communities, and financial services institutions. And so a lot of the work that we're doing is proving that we're serious about this work. And how do we prove it? We prove it by showing up. We prove it by demonstrating the potential and opportunities that exist within their neighborhoods. We also do it by making sure that the philanthropic resources and capital that we've committed is made available to them. And it helps to meet the needs that they have identified. And so I would say that's the biggest hurdle to overcome, is the biggest trust factor that has really been decimated over the years, quite honestly. And that relationships that businesses have with their consumers, is the foundation of that is trust. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would say is the biggest opportunity. And we are working hard at it every single day.
The other thing is, this is a group of women and men from around the world who are really trying to change the way things are. And you and I have had offline conversations. I'm part of Innovate Charlotte, which is an ecosystem for entrepreneurs. It's still, in fact, this morning I had a call with them. The number one reason that, this is so hard for entrepreneurs to kind of get their legs in, even though we know that entrepreneurs actually fuel jobs and education, et cetera, is access to capital. I get what Fifth Third is doing, but you also sit at a different level than most people are. What is happening? What's changing so that the access to capital is either easier or, transparent? I think sometimes it's just not even transparent.
So thank you for the question. Right now, a lot of companies and educational institutions are looking for innovative ways to provide capital to business owners. One is the partnerships with community development financial institutions that are happening in many of the communities across the country. These are organizations that are oftentimes supported by banks as well as the federal government, and providing flexible and innovative capital to businesses and entrepreneurs that are just starting out. They have a lot more flexibility in their terms and what they can do. And so many banks, including Fifth Third, have made investments in those community development financial institutions to support the small business ecosystem. The other that I would add is our support of small businesses in receiving free technical assistance. Mm-hmm. Businesses who want to write their business plan to be able to take their business to the next level, not necessarily just to start, but if you're looking to double your business per se, or if you're looking for adding a new product or a new solution, and you're looking for innovative ways to be able to go to market, banks are providing access to technical assistance through many of these small business technical development centers, as well as working with individual consultant organizations across the footprint that we partner with in nonprofits that are working to support small businesses. And many of these services are offered free of charge. Free of charge.
And they are
offered in almost every community throughout our country.
All right, so now rip open that seal. Okay, rip open the seal, Jada. How do they learn about it? I mean, because if you're not on this call, or it's kind of going back to your first comment about social capital, right? If
Mhm,
you don't
mhm.
know, if you're not connected, if you're not talking to people, and that takes a lot of time. I mean, as a small business person, I spend, Linda, everybody on here, we spend a lot of time talking to people. How do we find out about this?
So one is the SBA is a huge resource. A lot of people oftentimes discount the SBA and think about them just as a funder. They are also a very, very strong resource provider. So I would start there. There are several offices throughout the country, no matter where you're located, East Coast, West Coast, Central, North, South, there are SBA offices. There are also local colleges and universities that have small business and entrepreneurship centers where individuals can go. I mentioned our community development financial institutions. They are available and exist in every single community. Your local municipality, there are cities that actually have the Office of Entrepreneurship, the Office of Small Business that can actually help you with all the resources that you need and to be able to direct you to the right resources that are available. Banks and other capital organizations that have access to capital, like investment firms, banks, and others, and even public municipalities, support these efforts in your local cities. So please make sure that you're looking at your local cities, that you're connecting with the SBA, you're leveraging the community development financial institutions that are in your state, or even sometimes in your city, and you're connecting with the local colleges and university centers for entrepreneurship.
Thanks. We're at that time where we want to break you out into groups. Linda, if you can give me some help here. And the question that we want you to really think about is, for you, for your community, what can you do, or what will you do as a result of hearing about this in terms of helping in economic equity, whether it's yours or other people in your community whom you know? Some of you listening have philanthropic arms that you are funding and helping to support, and connections into philanthropy. Can you take some of these ideas and bring it to the table so that what we're doing is changing the lens on that? So